Thank you for listening to the BJJ Brick Podcast. We'll be bringing you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and good times. We hope to flatten your Jiu-Jitsu learning curve, help you get the most out of your grappling ability, and meet your goals both on and off the mat.
Welcome back to the BJJ Brick Podcast. This is episode 275. This week we have an interview with Gina Franssen. My name is Byron. I'm here with my good buddies Gary and Joe. Gary and Joe, exchange some pleasantries.
Oh, hey, how you doing today, Joe?
I'm doing very well, thank you. It's good to be on the podcast with you, my friend.
Definitely good. And like you were saying earlier, you know, it'd be so much better without Byron Jabara here.
One of these days, we're going to figure that out.
That
figure
could
out
be
a way
done.
to get rid of him.
You guys can figure that out, I'm sure. You guys are smart. Joe's got the recording equipment over there, so.
We're going to start a podcast, The Real BJJ Brick.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a good plan, Gary.
Yep.
Well, and everybody needs a good plan.
Yeah, speaking of a good plan, check out Byron's audiobook.
Yes.
Your first year of BJJ. Is that a segue or what?
That is great. That's a slam dunk.
Yep.
I gave you the alley-oop, though.
Yeah, you definitely gave me an alley-oop. And I do got hops. So, you know. Joe's like, I've seen you jump. You got like a 2-inch vertical. But, hey, your first year of BJJ, Byron's audiobook, it's 2.5 hours of content. We have a link to it in the show notes, but it'll definitely help you out through your first year of jiu-jitsu. You know, we consider that the tough year. A lot of people do not make it through the first year. The price is only $11.99, and it basically covers everything from, you know, the benefits of jiu-jitsu to preparing for your first tournament to finding the correct school to what moves to work on. So it's going to help you through everything you're going to walk through that first year in jiu-jitsu. So definitely check it out. It's got great reviews. Last I checked, it was 1,487th jiu-jitsu book on the New York Times bestseller. So it's doing great. So definitely check it out. Link to it in the show notes. And I was kidding about it's actually ranked third on jiu-jitsu self-help books in the New York Times.
In the audio section.
Yes.
If they did that, that would be fantastic. Yeah, Gary, thanks for the sweet plug on the book there.
Yeah, it's definitely a sweet plug. But, you know, now I think it's time to get on to school here, Byron.
Okay.
You know, Joe, do you got a lesson plan going for us right now?
Well, you did say everybody needs a plan, right?
Definitely, we need a plan.
Okay. I'm not sure if I have a lesson plan, but I did see something interesting. Yes, I did see something interesting this week that I thought would translate to a decent on the mat lesson. As you guys know, part of my job is to look into incidents that we have at work and do investigations. And we had an incident at work where a vessel kind of got a little squirrely in the channel, and the wheel wash broke, the mooring lines on an adjacent barge loose, and I won't get into all the details, but you know, it was really strong current. There'd been some adverse weather blow through a few hours earlier. And the interesting thing is I went down to the boat and I take everybody's statement, and I talked to the guy that was at the helm at the time, and he kind of talks me through what happened, and talked to the lookout that was in the wheelhouse at the time, and he talks me through what happened. And then we've got closed circuit TV recording on the vessel, and one of the cameras points directly at the aft helm where the guy was driving the boat from, and it's got audio so you can hear what's going on. So I downloaded that footage and took it back to the office where I work and spent some time reviewing it. And interestingly enough, what I see on the video doesn't match up very well with what the guys told me. And I know these guys. Nobody was trying to cover anything up or lead me astray. Their recollection of things, not just what they did, but like I said, so where was the barge? Where was the other vessels that were nearby? You know, I'm asking these kind of questions, and they tell me, and then when I get to look at the footage and I can see out the windows with the camera, and yeah, there was a lot of misrecollection. And I think in the heat of the moment, it's easy for that to happen. And I think when we realize that, then it's easier for us to take feedback from other people. And getting to jiu-jitsu, there have been times where people have said, you should have done this. And I say, I couldn't have. When I was in the heat of the moment, you're telling me I should have passed in this situation. I'm telling you I couldn't have. Sometimes we get tunnel vision and we don't really see what's going on when we're in the heat of the moment. And then afterwards, we don't really have a very good recollection of what's going on. So if we'll come to accept that, it's much easier to take some feedback. And then I would go one step further and say that this also demonstrates that there might be a lot of value in having somebody tape some of your matches or some of your training sessions and then reviewing them. You might be surprised at how they look on tape compared to how you remembered them.
Joe, that is an incredible on the mat lesson. I didn't know where you're going with it at first, and I see it. I never really thought about it happening to me, because I do get the same thing that you're talking about. Somebody told me I should have done this, and I'm sitting there thinking, there's no way I could have done that. It all happened so fast. And as you were saying it, I was like, man, I bet I'm just missing something. Like you said, I'm in the heat of the moment. I didn't see that way out. I was thinking something else. I'm just worried about getting submitted. And, my brain's moving and really not slowing down. And, I miss the way out or what I should have done. And I do like your point there too about, videotaping, your rolls, your matches, practice, your drilling, and seeing little things that you're doing and catch mistakes from there. And not necessarily catch mistakes, but you can also find positive things that you're doing. So I think that's a great lesson there, Joe.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, it's funny how faulty our memories can be, and especially when you add adrenaline to that, they do kind of fail us a lot. And so the value of recording a match, I can almost guarantee it, you'll see something that you didn't realize happened, or you'll see something that you don't remember it happening that way. And there's also value to a recording, just rolling in the class if you want to see kind of what you probably learned something from that as well. I would hesitate to post these things, but like rolling with your training partner, especially if you're doing really well and it makes them look kind of bad. That's for your training purposes. Use your judgment on that. But that's good lesson. And our memories fail us a lot of times, and that's just it. It's part of reality. But jiu-jitsu, we work with reality. When we get tapped, we get tapped. When you submit somebody, that's real too. And so there's not any. You can't mess up that, but you could definitely remember what happened beforehand incorrectly.
I remember a few years ago you were telling me about that, Byron, about videotaping your rolls and learning, and how you had a good idea to do that. And I remember you went out and you bought the equipment and we tried it. But at that point, what you did is you had 4 GoPros, one facing forward, one facing backward, and one facing each way. And it didn't really work too well. And it cost you a lot of money because we kept breaking those GoPros. But, it was a good try.
Yeah, I guess, Gary. You come up with some strange things, Gary.
Strange? You're the one who did it. Was it me?
Yep. I have some weird ideas.
Yeah.
One thing that's not weird is our quote of the week. It's by Johnny Cash. And this quote was featured on our Facebook fan page. Joe posted it as an image. So way to go, Joe. I saw that. I'm like, that's a good quote. We should put it on the show. It goes, "You build on your failure. You use it as a stepping stone. Close the door on the past. You don't try to forget mistakes. You don't dwell on it. You don't let it have any of your energy or any of your time or any of your space." And I think, like, the first part of it, use your failures as a stepping stone. Like learn from your mistakes, but don't dwell on them. Like, it makes a lot of sense, and it's how we learn a lot of things in jiu-jitsu or out of jiu-jitsu. don't need to hide it. Don't need to act like it didn't happen. Don't need to lose any sleep over your mistakes or dwell on it. But just acknowledge it, learn from it, and keep going and build from that.
This has got me thinking. In jiu-jitsu, we make mistakes all the time. And, like you said, let's learn from it. Let's don't dwell on it, but don't forget it. Let's learn from it. And it seems like what we do in jiu-jitsu is, let's say I'm having an issue passing or I'm making some mistake and, I'm not getting the underhook as I go to knee slide pass, Byron takes my back. And when we're done rolling, it seems like jiu-jitsu is so great that, man, you kept taking my back. You were just killing me. And your opponent, your training partner will always say, hey, I'm winning the underhook battle. You're not getting an underhook, so I'm taking your back and, grabbing a tight waist grab and going to a spiral right. So, the cool thing is in jiu-jitsu, we'll start drilling how not to let that happen. We're done with a round. I see this happen all the time. I've done it with other people, and we just drill that little spot where I'm getting killed at, and it helps me. One thing I was thinking I might take from jiu-jitsu, I guess this could be a off the mat to an on the mat, or on the mat to an off the mat lesson, is, man, I make mistakes in real life, and I might just think about it once. And, hey, this is what I could have done to stop that mistake. But when I'm training jiu-jitsu, I'll think about it 4 or 5 times. I'm drilling it. I'm trying to cement it into my head. And, I wonder if I should do that with real life instead of just, hey, I could have fixed this mistake by doing this. And then I just stop at that point and go on to the next thing. I wonder if I should, think about that a little bit more, like what I do in jiu-jitsu, and if that would help me in real life too.
Gary, I think one of the keys there is, from listening to you talk about the way you approach jiu-jitsu in this context, it doesn't sound like you're really thinking a whole lot about the problem. You're thinking about a solution. And I think in real life, sometimes that's what gets us is, if we're make a mistake more than once at work, we can start to just focus on, man, I'm always messing this up. Whereas in jiu-jitsu, it doesn't sound like you spend a lot of time thinking, man, I never get the underhook. You think about, how do I get the underhook? How do I do this? How do I prevent him from getting it? And you're always looking for solutions. And I think that's the key. That's one of the great things about jiu-jitsu, is it teaches us that.
Yeah, that's good, Joe. You were right. I wasn't explaining it well. I do like your idea. I am looking for solutions. I guess I'm really not dwelling on the mistake as much as, I know I made the mistake, but how can we make this mistake better? Let's find a solution, and let's drill down into that and get better at it. But jiu-jitsu, there's so much that I can take from jiu-jitsu that I've learned in jiu-jitsu that I can take to real life and make my life better. There's another positive jiu-jitsu, Byron. We need to add that to your first year jiu-jitsu audiobook. Plug number 2.
Keep plugging away, Gary.
I thought we were going to add that to that's what I love most about jiu-jitsu montage.
I was going to do it, but I know that you guys bring that up here sooner or later.
We got to keep on your toes, Gary. There's always a prank going on, and Gary, if you don't know what it is, it might be aimed at you.
I wouldn't doubt it. It's probably aimed at me. Yeah.
But right now, hey, my friends, this is Byron coming at you from the audio editing room. Wanted to let you know that there is a prank this episode. It's on Joe. That's why Gary and I are kind of joking about it would be on him if there was one going on. So just so you know, there's a prank. It'll be aired after the end of the show. So stay tuned.
I wouldn't doubt it. It's probably aimed at me. Yeah.
But right now,
speaking of jiu-jitsu pranks, Byron and I rolled with a guy that we've rolled with for many years, but we don't see him very often. He doesn't come into the gym and roll that much anymore. But he came in today and brought his son, and first thing he does is he see me, and he's like, "Hey, Gary, remember that time?" I guess it wasn't really a prank, but it was more like jiu-jitsu funny. But this guy is a big, stocky guy, strong guy, and real early in my jiu-jitsu career, it's actually my very first time ever holding pads. He wanted me to hold a kick shield, and he was going to do a front kick. And this guy is probably 5'8", probably 260 and, just looks like he can squat 1,000 pounds, just a really strong guy. And so my instructor tells me to hold this pad like this, and it gives me instructions. So I hold the pad, and I'm halfway in the middle of the mat. We probably had 10 feet to the end of the mat, and at the end of the mat was a metal locker with a whole bunch of Muay Thai pads on top. So as I'm holding the mat or holding the pad, he comes up and does a front kick. And it wasn't what I was expecting. There was a lot more power to it, caught me off guard. And I went flying backwards for that whole 10 feet, hit my back hard against the locker, fell down to my butt with my legs stretched out in front of me. And then the kicker is, after the locker hit the wall and came back, all the Muay Thai pads on top of the locker came down and landed on my head. And that was 15 years ago, and he still remembers it to this day. And I just thought I would share, a bust on Gary moment.
I remember that as well, Gary.
Yeah, Byron was there. He brings it up probably about every 6 months to let me know about it. And now Joe knows about it.
But Gary, you've gotten so much larger and more muscular since then. I'm sure it would never happen again.
Well, I don't know about that.
He just had an unathletic stance. He was just holding the pads. I go like here's to his credit. I kicked it.
Feet
he didn't
together,
need it.
Squared up.
Yeah, he pushed through Gary on that one.
Yeah, when because Byron went before. Byron went to kick it, and he fell over.
Yeah, a little bit of dust came off my leg, and I fell over, and it was pretty sad. Let's kick on down the road, gentlemen.
Let's kick on down the road.
We got a great interview with Gina Franssen. Gina was in town recently and reconnected with her, and happy to get her back on the show. And she did a great job at the seminar here in town for the We Defy Foundation. So here's an interview with Gina Franssen. He is the most interesting grappler in the world.
When he was troubled with a slow Wi-Fi connection, he threatened to disqualify the service provider. After that, his high-speed connection was restored. He then streamed the Worlds from the comfort of Chuck Norris's living room. Chuck never knew that he was there, but he did enjoy a faster internet connection. When he is stuck in a traffic jam, he manages to keep rolling, just very slow. This is what he considers to be his slow roll time.
I don't always listen to podcasts, but when I do, I prefer the BJJ Brick podcast. Stay sweaty, my friends.
All right, my friends, I'm happy to bring Gina Franssen back to the BJJ Brick podcast. Gina, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much for having me again. I'm really flattered that you asked me to be on here again.
Yeah, I think it's been a couple of years. We were talking about that a little bit ago before we started recording here. But I got a chance to meet you and take a seminar from you. I was like, man, I got to get her back on the podcast. Had a great time at the seminar.
I'm really glad that you did. It was awesome to finally meet you.
Yeah, wasn't that awesome? But yeah, it was awesome to meet you. You were teaching the seminar. I was just a student there. But I do want to give a little bit of introduction here. If somebody hasn't really heard of you or they don't know anything what you're up to, tell us a little bit about yourself, would you please?
Yes. So I am Minnesota's first female black belt. I am the owner and head instructor of X2 Fitness, which is located in Uptown Minneapolis. And I trained under Professor Chris McCune, and we are under the Keegan Machado Association.
And how long have you been training?
16 and a half, going on 17 soon, 16 years.
All right. And, way back when, what got you started? What was it like back then?
Well, what got me started, which our last podcast, I was commenting to some of my friends afterwards. Usually this is the topic that comes up, and we did not even touch on this topic last time.
Okay.
So, it was good for me to not actually have to say it over and over. But so what got me started was I was assaulted, and I was tired of being terrified of being on the ground and that type of thing. And so a year after the assault, I started jiu-jitsu so that it could be sort of a cathartic, therapeutic thing for myself. And I told myself that after I got my blue belt, that would mean that I had kind of moved forward, because you don't ever really move past it. But so I was going to kind of be that would be the end of my journey for that piece. And I got my blue belt and I fell in love with jiu-jitsu. And 16 and a half years later, with black belt in a gym and a team and traveling and teaching seminars, it's not what I expected it to be, but I'm really, really glad I stuck with it.
It's literally impossible for me to like put myself in your shoes and understand what was going on. But a good thing is to have you here to ask questions. It seems like to me it would be difficult to, or very least intimidating, to start a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class after something like that. Was there? What was that like?
Honestly, it was absolutely horrible and terrifying. So I started with private lessons. So I did those a couple times a week. And quite frankly, every time I would go there, I'd cry on the way there. I'd cry in the bathroom, and I'd cry on the way home. And I'd say I wasn't going to do it again. And then I would go back. And then after probably 3 or so months, I think, then I started classes. And back then there were not that many females. So that was also a tough transition for me. So again, cried all the way there, cried in the bathroom, cried on the way home, said I wasn't going to go back, and kept going back. So it was definitely something that needed to be worked through and worked past so that I wouldn't have to be afraid of it anymore. But that's, it's like peeling the onion with the layers, right?
So I would,
and so I think,
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, it sounds like a very, to say difficult experiences to underplay that. But if I were to hear of a student, crying during, in the bathroom, or crying on the way home, or to class, I would think, okay, they're not going to, it's unlikely that this person will continue. What was happening in the times, like before a class where you actually said, got all your stuff and got in your vehicle and headed out? Like, how did that work?
First of all, no one knew I was crying on the way there and in the bathroom on the way home. Yeah, but you
still have the battle to fight, though.
Oh, absolutely. So, but I didn't share that with anybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting myself to go there, I think it was more of I didn't want to have something that was holding me back or holding me down. I don't like to be afraid of things. I don't like things controlling me. So it was more of I need to take control of this situation or this part of me so that it wasn't running my life.
I don't want to talk negatively on other martial arts, but Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I mean, I believe it's very effective as a self-defense, but a lot of people, I think, in the similar situation would have signed up for a kickboxing class or taekwondo or karate, something, or just a women's self-defense course.
Well,
why did you choose
boxing
jiu-jitsu
at the time when it happened?
Okay.
Because I learned that boxing doesn't do you any good on the ground when you're on your back with a big person on top of you. So I was like, well, check that one off. I mean, I still, of course, loved boxing, and I still was doing boxing after that, but it definitely showed me the necessity for multiple modalities of the fighting arts.
Do you teach women's self-defense classes at all?
I do. I'm a little bit on the fence about those sometimes, because I do not believe that in 90 minutes that you can walk out the door and be Billy Badass and be able to defend yourself. I do it with the purpose of bringing awareness to women as far as, hey, this is a topic that you need to think about, whether it's happened to you already, you need to work through it. If you have not had such a horrible experience, you're lucky enough to have not been in that situation, most women want to not think about being in that situation. So I think it's good for them to take the class, to be aware that, yes, these things can happen to anyone and everyone, regardless of gender. But, more so I do the women's self-defense stuff. But I implore them to think proactively and take up a martial art, take up jiu-jitsu somewhere else. I'm not trying to sell them to come to my gym. I just want them to take this information, open up their minds a little bit, let them know that there are things out there that are not good, and there are ways to be able to protect yourself and be proactive and hopefully not be put in that situation. And if you are, to hopefully get out somewhat unscathed. So those workshops are a little bit tough for me, because I want them to understand that it's not just a 90-minute and you're good to go. It's years and years of practice. It's years and years of awareness, situational awareness, and also just being safe with where you put yourself.
It sounds like it's more of you're teaching them awareness of things and less of, here's how you would definitely do this. I agree with you. We do a portion of groundwork. So it's basically, when we do the self-defense workshops, they are Jiu-Jitsu 101, how to hip escape, how to upa and roll, how to stand up and base or do a technical stand-up. So we do those types of things, but we also talk about more so the situational awareness. It's because to me, it's easier to not get in a situation than it is to suddenly be in a situation and use those techniques to get out. Yep. You said a lot right there. For anybody, any self-defense situation, it's easier just to avoid the whole thing. And sometimes it's unavoidable, but I think as long as everyone is aware that it is a possibility and that they don't ignore it because it's scary. So, I'm just trying to educate people as far as these are the things to be mindful of. And 90 minutes is not enough. So I can recommend a multitude of really great gyms in the Minneapolis area. I'm not trying to get you to come to me. If you want to come to me, great. Otherwise, there's so many other great schools that you can go to. So you started off, it was difficult getting in the door. It was difficult training. You had the goal of getting a blue belt, and then you were going to, say, hey, I've learned jiu-jitsu, that type of a goal. Why? What changed? What was the flip, or not the flip? What was the switch that flipped to where you enjoyed jiu-jitsu?
Well, to clarify, the blue belt was going to signify that I've done some work, not necessarily that I know jiu-jitsu, I'm good. Yeah. But that I have put myself in these situations, I have faced my fears, and it's not running me anymore. I think what switched for me is the reason why I was training. So I started training because of said incident. But as I continued to train, I started training more for myself because of the enjoyment, not because of proving something to myself that it doesn't run me. And I find with every belt that my reasons for training change. And I think everyone can say that. Each belt signifies something in your life.
Yeah, and you've got, I've experienced that several times myself. You've got to adjust to that, or it's difficult to keep going. If common for any white belt walking indoors thinking that they want to learn how to fight, or they want to defend themselves, or maybe lose a few pounds. Who knows what day one person's goal is, I guess, unless you ask them. But any multitude of reasons. But after a little while, you could reach that goal, and then you could change the reasons for showing up and still get tons of benefits out. I mean, look at myself. I started training because, it's hard. I didn't have like one big reason. I just thought it looked like it was interesting, and I kind of thought it would be fun to learn a martial art, and it seemed like the thing that was like the best one. And now, more times than not, I go to class to have a good time, and I train hard, and I like to roll. But if it wasn't fun, it would be very hard for me to be motivated to go in and train.
100% agree on that. That's where I'm at now too.
Yeah, and maybe, if I decide to start competing, some of the fun will leave me, and I have to kind of change the goal of what I'm wanting to do, and want to do well at a tournament. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to work a little harder, have to change my diet a little bit, and that sort of thing. But I think that we all kind of need to be aware of what we want to do with with our goals on the mat and off the mat. But if you sign up and you're blue belt, you compete a ton, you enjoy it, and all these things are going great, and then you kind of stop competing, or maybe the competing stop being enjoyable, you could still keep coming to jiu-jitsu and learn a lot and get a lot better. Just changing that goal like you did, back in as a blue belt, I think that was a pivotal moment where you made a decision that has affected you still today.
I 100% agree that I have an instructor who loves to compete, and she, at this time in her life, just with work and school and injuries and things, like, she really was in it to win it for competition, and she is not able to do that. And that's a prime example of refocusing. It's like, okay, so you wanted to compete a lot, and that is not an option at this point in time. So now you need to refocus. What is your training for? Is it for your enjoyment? Is it because you want to focus on being an instructor more often? Is it like, what is it for you? And it's like any type of relationship. I compared jiu-jitsu to relationships as far as they are ever changing. It's not always good. It's not always happy. Sometimes you wish you weren't in it, but it constantly is evolving, and you have to reshape your mind frame to continue with that.
Yeah. I do want to talk a little bit about your current game. Having the chance to attend your seminar, I got to see a little bit of that firsthand. Tell me some of your favorite techniques and what you like to do on the mat.
Oh, man. So those have evolved and changed because of injuries and health issues and things. So I used to love, as you saw, I used to love to play a lot of X-Guard. That is still one of my favorites. I still try to do it. Sometimes my body says, hey, today's a great day. And sometimes my body says no. I am a huge fan of chokes, love chokes of any kind. I love doing any type of standing passing. So that's kind of my game. However, I'm typically in the bottom since I only weigh 108 pounds. So, what I want to be doing and what I'm actually doing are often two different things.
And so is that frustrating, or is that just part of dealing with it and you develop ways to get back on top?
Both.
Okay.
Both. It's again, it's that whole mindset reshaping, reframing, where there are days when it frustrates the shit out of me, and I leave there thinking, jiu-jitsu, I'm going to sleep in a separate room from jiu-jitsu tonight, right? Back to that relationship analogy. But then you can let it either run your game, or you can try to work around it. I mean, it's the same thing with any technique in jiu-jitsu. There's multiple ways to get to where you want to be. It's not always just smash, right? You go around it, you go over it, you go under it, you go through it. And it's the same thing with your frustration and your mindset. So yes, some days I'm very frustrated because I'm literally on the bottom the entire time I'm training. And then there are some days after that where I go back and I think, okay, well, that lit a fire under my ass, and we're not going to do that again. And so it forces me to have to get creative or get persistent and do a little bit more drilling of the techniques that I'm trying to get. I know some people drill, some people don't. I am a driller. So, try it on a live go. If it doesn't work, take it back to the workshop, fix it up, hopefully come back with a better product.
So, being a lighter weight person, it seemed like at the seminar you were really showing a lot of X-Guard stuff, and that was that has worked well for you in the past. Would you recommend somebody who's similar weight class learn that just to survive better while training? Is it something that's really practical to do?
Sport wise, sure. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to say I think people should do this.
Okay.
Quite frankly, when I'm teaching, and I know it's such a black belt answer, right? Well, it depends. But when I teach, I try really hard to not say, well, this is what I like or this is what I prefer, because I don't want my students or any of the students I'm teaching to ever feel like they have to do it the way I do it because I'm saying that. So do I think it's a beneficial position? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I think it depends on who you're training with and what your level is and your size versus theirs. And if you like a position, awesome, do it. If you don't like it, then don't. But I do feel like it's important for everyone to be well-rounded. There's certain things that I teach because I have to, because that's my job, that I personally do not use. I've used a specific technique maybe 5 times in my entire career, but I teach it because some of my students love it and they use it. I don't, but I don't ever tell them that. So,
on something like that, oftentimes for me, I just step aside and say, hey, you guys want to work De La Riva? Taylor's going to show you guys a little bit of De La Riva today. I don't play that very well. How are you ever able to do that, or do you just teach it to the best you can?
Well, I teach it to the best that I can. I also keep my personal opinions about certain techniques or positions out of the mix. I'll say if you guys love it, great. If you don't use it. So, but you have to know it, especially because if you don't know it, then you don't know how to defend it.
So you
at least have to have the basics.
I feel like we have a lot of things to talk about, but I do want to keep. So you don't really talk negatively about any positions or techniques?
I do, for one.
Okay.
I do. I absolutely, without remorse, talk negatively about pulling guard. Yes.
Okay.
I will say that I think that it is. I wouldn't even say that I talk negatively, because I'm going to say I think that it proves to be useful if done correctly in sport or tournament settings. I personally don't feel that it is a good mindset for females to get into, to throw themselves onto the ground, especially for self-defense purposes. So I feel like you drill it to kill it. And if you continually train to do something, that's going to be your reaction. So for me, I don't allow that in my gym because I don't want my females to constantly throw themselves on their backs.
What's a good takedown for somebody lighter weight to be working on?
I'm a big fan of the ankle picks.
Nice.
I'm a big fan of the double leg shot with the trip, so that you're not actually doing a shot. Do you know that one?
Yeah.
Where you do like that little S-mount thingy around the leg. Yeah. Yeah, I like that one. I like inside trips. So more trips and ankle picks, I think, is a little bit more small person friendly. Unless you're going against somebody your own size, then you know what? The world is your oyster. Go for whatever, right? But
well, and like we were talking about earlier, some of it depends on why you're training. But like you're saying, you don't always know. I mean, you have an idea of why you're training, but there might be another reason that's a year and a half away that you have no idea that this person's going to attack you. And if you've been pulling guard for a year and a half straight, like that, you don't want that to pop in your head. You want to be able to engage or disengage at your own accord and not automatically pull guard, because that's what you've been doing on autopilot for so long.
That's my sentiment on it. I know some people disagree with me, and I am perfectly okay with being able to agree to disagree.
Yeah.
So
I think the biggest reason, or they're talking about like competitive jiu-jitsu, maybe pulling guard. Where I train, we start on our knees a lot because you pack in 30 people in this mat size. There's enough for 15 groups to roll, but there's not enough for 15 groups to start standing up. We're going to be landing on people, and it's a safety issue. But
and we don't start every single live go standing and doing takedowns. We do takedown entries in every single class, so that you're constantly repping it.
Nice.
But we don't necessarily start every single live go standing.
Yeah. And we could do a whole episode on starting not standing, but there's no reason my opinion is you don't fight from your knees like that's a worthless position to me, is two people standing and pushing on their knees. Just, you could, I mean, I'm happy, maybe different opinion, but I pull guard. Hey, I pull side control a lot since I got my knees, and just that way I guarantee I could escape, that role. Yeah. And that's helped me a lot. But you don't have to, I'm not a fan of the fighting from your knees. That's pretty silly.
Neither am I.
So we talked a little bit about what was that?
Go ahead.
Yeah, people do, and it's not. It's like that doesn't help you even in sport jiu-jitsu. I mean, talk about pulling guards in sport jiu-jitsu is one thing. That doesn't help you in that. It literally helps you only in rolling at class.
Right.
And it may not be helping you in that. It's probably slowing your training down.
Exactly. I encourage my students to, instead of starting on your knees, I mean, yes, you can slap hands and you're kind of on your knees, but then pop up and go, so that you're not really on your knees, that you're in like kind of a low squat type of thing, Yeah. So you're still doing some sort of an aggressive level change as far as I'm slightly above you, because that's also mindset, right?
Okay.
Someone's standing over you. So
we talked a little bit about frustrations and dealing with those. Getting my wife to jiu-jitsu, she does it only on days I train and days she's available. So not a lot that it matches up. Our schedules don't really match up that greatly, but she's had some frustrating experiences, which I haven't. I doubt I've handled them perfectly, but I try to listen and try to understand. One of them that happened a little while ago, she's been training off a year and a half or so, not real consistently, but getting to probably 2 or 3 training sessions in a month. I mean, she's basically doing it because that's where I'm going to be, and it counts as a workout. Like the passion isn't there. So I drag her along, and when I said, hey, let's go to a seminar, and she's like, oh, here we go. And I said that, Gina Franssen's going to be there. She's going to be teaching. She lit up. It was like a lot more exciting for her to go to a seminar taught by a female instructor. So that was, she was happy to attend that. And I said, how was that? She goes, that was great. She's like, she really enjoyed it.
Oh, good.
But of course, like anything that you try to do, there's frustrations. And I think part of the frustrations in jiu-jitsu, part of them are mental, but part of them are physical. Like literally something is happening to you that you cannot control. And she experienced,
which is why it's so good.
Yeah. I like guillotines a lot, and that's translated over to my wife liking guillotines as well, because I teach her what like you're saying, teach what you know, and I haven't taught her stuff I don't know that well, so I haven't gotten to that area yet. But there was a fairly new guy, maybe 2 months, and he's about 200 pounds. And my wife is significantly smaller than that, and she caught him in a guillotine like right away, and he tapped.
Nice.
And then he basically mauled her. Like he got side control, and she couldn't move him an inch. And she was telling me what happened. I'm like, that's great. You tapped him out. And she was so upset with herself for not being able to escape. She was upset with like jiu-jitsu for not working. And she never had experienced anything quite like that. That somebody that was fairly new but so much stronger just could. I didn't know what to tell her. I thought she did a great job. But what would you say to a student that was frustrated like that?
Well, first of all, she did a fantastic job, because she clearly made him. I don't want to say it's great that she made him angry, but I know if I get something legitimately on somebody, if they punish me afterwards. So, it wasn't like a charity tap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she should feel good that she practiced the technique, and the technique worked. I think most of us try to remember that we are tapping to the technique, not the person, except then, sometimes we tend to forget about that, and then we get frustrated and punish the other person. I think it's good for all of us to be in those positions of frustration, especially, I hate to say that, but especially as a female, because it's part of the deal. Yes, jiu-jitsu is very physical, but it's really also very mental and emotional. So if you can learn to be uncomfortable and still be comfortable at that point and learn how to manage your frustrations and your feelings and your emotions, your jiu-jitsu is going to be that much better. So it's kind of reality. I've had people say to me, well, I can't believe a purple belt tapped you because you're a black belt. And I'm like, right, but the purple belt outweighs me by, 50, 60, 70, who knows how many pounds. And it's not because they're a lower ranked belt they shouldn't be able to tap me. It's that they did the technique correctly, and yes, they outweigh me, and that's part of the deal. And is it fair? I mean, life isn't fair, and the higher levels that you get, it equals out. And then size does, as all women say, size does matter, right? So it makes a difference. If you're at the same level, white belt, and one person's bigger and stronger, it's going to be tough. When I train with my black belt brothers, they outweigh me by anywhere from 75 to 100 and some pounds. If I can survive that role, I'm thrilled. I'm stoked. If I get tapped twice, I'm stoked because that's a win for me. Just because I'm their same rank doesn't mean that I'm their same size. And sadly, that's part of the deal, and it does make a difference. And I think people forget about that. So I tell my students that all the time, and it's good for people to learn how to suffer underneath and how to deal with it. It's life.
Yeah, that's well said, and that I mean it's not all easy, and I think that's something that I guess if you know in advance, like I don't think my wife had ever had a side control, at least that she rolls with me every time she shows up, and then she'll roll with 2 or 3 other people, and that's it. But she never had a side control from me that she couldn't escape if she did it properly. Like I never made her stuck and just ignored her technique. If she did it right, it would work. And here she was doing it right, and it just wasn't working. And I think that was part of the frustration and part of that. But yeah, the size is a factor. And you talk about tapping to somebody else's lower. I like what you said. You don't tap. You're not tapping to the technique. You're not tapping to the person. You're tapping to the technique or something like that.
Yeah. We got to remind ourselves of that.
Yeah. That's
because they did it right. So, good for them. They got it. They practiced, they listened, they did all the details, and I did something wrong. Technique worked. It's good.
Yeah. And I don't think I don't know if I'm reading things right, and I don't, I'm only talking about my wife's situation because I think it's common for someone, male or female, to be doing okay, and then suddenly just like it all falls apart, and all your confidence is gone, and all that as well. But I don't think that the guy she caught with the guillotine was mad at her. I think he was afraid of her. I think he didn't want to have that happen again.
He was frustrated. Absolutely. Yeah. I don't ever think that someone's like, personally mad at me, but it's like, oh, no, we're not doing that again. And that's just kind of, sometimes when I'm rolling with people who are much bigger than me, which is basically everybody, because now that you've met me, I'm like the size of a toddler. It's, sometimes I have to decide, do I want to really go for something? Because if I do, I'm going to get punished. Do I want to do that today, or do I not want to do that today? Yeah. Do I want to hurt later? And some days I'm like, I'm going to risk it. And then some days I just think, I want to be able to walk tomorrow. So I think I'm good.
Yeah. Same thing. There's always somebody bigger and able to do that. Like I know that there's been a lot of people that I don't really attack because even if they don't retaliate, it makes them mad if they like, I'm not here to make anybody mad at me. I'm here to have fun and train. And so like, I get to give a couple of blue belts who actually get mad when I start choking them. It's like, dude, I'm not going to roll with you anymore until you can figure out how not to do that. And I can think of a couple of large guys, several years ago that I would literally not tap out on purpose because I didn't want to risk injury after the submission. Like,
right. Exactly.
Like, it's not worth making this guy
life.
mad. I think that's part of training, like long term.
Life.
Yeah, choose life.
Yeah. Definitely. Training's an interesting thing.
So you came down to Wichita for a We Defy seminar. Tell me a little bit about We Defy.
So We Defy Foundation is a nonprofit organization that provides jiu-jitsu to combat disabled veterans. So it kind of gives them an outlet and a community and through jiu-jitsu so that they can have a place to go, have a group of people. Nothing ever obviously takes place of the group that they had before, but it provides that sense of community that they had while they were in the military. And it also gives them something to do, a new skill to learn. It gives them an outlet. It helps them, as we just talked about, work through frustrations and they're getting what we get, right? So that's what We Defy does. They offer jiu-jitsu to these veterans, and through We Defy, we have scholarships that you can apply for if you are a combat disabled veteran, and then they give you the scholarship for jiu-jitsu for a year.
So it actually helps them, or it covers their expenses at the school?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And
so if there's a school it's a We Defy affiliated school.
Okay.
So like my gym is a We Defy affiliate, and if there is a combat veteran who has applied and the scholarship is approved, what they do is We Defy finds them a gym in their area to go and start training. And then they give them a scholarship for a year of training.
Kind of get them like a running start.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's nice to be able to train and not have to worry about like the expense of training. And I think that some people do try jiu-jitsu and figure, okay, it's going to cost me this much per month. Like that could be a barrier for some. And it's good that We Defy is able to take that away. Or I think a lot of times it's less a barrier once you get into it. It's a barrier to start. Like, how much is this a month? Really? But once you fall in love with it, it doesn't really matter. Like, you're going to go train.
Yeah, we always say that the hardest belt to get is the white belt because it means you have to start.
Yeah. Yep. And that's, we talk about that on the show, like being the most important belt is your white belt.
Yeah.
You may not feel like it is at the time, but starting like that first belt is like the first step is very difficult sometimes.
It is. And a white belt's the best belt ever. I tell my students that. It is. It's the best belt. You're the sponge, and you're just open and ready to learn. I am so envious of the white belts.
Yeah. If you think about it the way from like learning opportunities, like a white belt could go in and like add 5 or 10% of their knowledge just by learning a couple of new things. Like, man, this is really awesome. That's when was the last time you gained 5% in a day, Gina? Like, that doesn't really happen.
Gosh, yeah.
You're trying to get like a little bit better. You're trying to fine tune something.
Yep. Everything's cool. Everything's exciting. Everything's shiny. It's like the honeymoon period in your relationship, right? That first 6 to 8 months where it's like, oh, this is so great. That's white belt. I envy the white belt.
Let's talk a little bit about belts here. Gina, when you have somebody who's getting ready or like near the blue belt range, what do you look for in what they're doing or what's going on to help you make that decision whether they're a blue belt or not?
For any belt, I look for, technique, but especially there's other things that I add in there as far as their character. Do they help out the team? Are they training just for them, or are they training as a team? Is there cohesion? Are they willing to help other people get ready for competitions? I mean, I guess I just look for, have they matured in that belt to be able to pass on to the lower rank belts? So if it's a blue belt, are they going to help out the white belts? Because it's expected at my gym. It's not about you. It's about all of us. So for every belt, they need to know, X amount of techniques. White to blue, there's a curriculum. Blue to purple, there's a curriculum. But what are you doing as far as giving back to the team?
Yeah, and I think that's something that it's easy to miss when you're coming in there as a student and you're trying to get better at jiu-jitsu. You also should be helping your team and everybody on the mat.
Agreed. 100% agreed. Do they stay after and work with people who are who are getting ready to compete? Do they they're done with their training and they leave? It's like when I used to box, I was coaching a boxing team, and you'd hold for all the fighters, and then afterwards you'd say to one of the fighters, "Oh, hey, can you hold for a couple rounds for me?" And they're like, "Oh no, I'm really tired after training." Okay. So I just spent all this time with all of you guys, and no one can give me 6 minutes. Interesting. So it's a give back, Someone worked with these white belts, and now you're a blue belt. So now you are, in my eyes, expected to work with these people, help them out, even if they're frustrating you, because everyone has that where it's like, new person is frustrating me, or whatever there is, you spot it, you got it. Maybe they're too similar and they're not getting along, or however that works. But you have to put that aside, and you have to work with them, and you have to help them, because I guarantee you somebody did it for you.
It's a little easier, I think, if you. It's hard to help everybody, and so I don't know. For me, I'm able to usually identify a couple of people, and I don't know what about them. It's like, I really want this guy to have a good time and to learn this today, or maybe because the technique is good for their game or something like that. But like, I don't take the responsibility of helping everybody. I don't run the gym, but today, we're working on this particular choke. This guy's got a pretty good choke like that, but I'm really going to try to help him out as much as I can. Or like a new person has a great personality. It's so much easier to help somebody with a good attitude than it is to help somebody who's grumpy or trying to murder everybody.
Yep, which is why I am constantly reminding myself, and I constantly remind the team that it's bigger than you. It's bigger than me. It has nothing to do with what I am feeling personally right now. It has everything to do with helping everybody else out, because it's not about you.
Yeah.
And I've had multiple reminders of that, where I've been in a situation where I'm like, what about me? And then something happens and I'm like, oh, okay, universe. Yep, you're right. It's not about me. Totally not about me at all.
The good thing is, if everybody trains, I had Rafael Lovato Sr. on here, and I think he said, train half for you and half for the other person. And if everybody does that, it's a way better environment to train. And I might be messing up his words a little bit there, but the idea that the entire role is you dictating your entire game on, Gina beats up blue belt exactly how she wants to. That's you working 100% for you. Now, they might get a little defense here or there, but it's nice to let them work on their game a little bit too.
Yeah, again, back to the relationship analogy. Both parties have to reciprocate. They have to. It can't just be one or the other. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. I think that this is often misunderstood with a lot of people and a lot of coaches, that the culture in the gym will often be significantly more important than who's teaching the class or who's teaching the technique and that sort of thing. If it's a positive culture for learning, it's a huge advantage.
Yes, I am 100% in agreement with that.
And we could talk about culture for an hour and a half, but like, if somebody gets upset when they get tapped out, like if they make a yell or like, you got to squash that pretty quick. Like that's like cancer to the culture. If somebody is annihilating all the white belts, that's bad for the culture. Coaches can influence the way that the room feels, and I think that's an important thing.
It trickles down from the top. That is my opinion. It 100% trickles down from the top. If it is not handled from the top down, it's like Lord of the fucking Flies. It is ridiculous. So yeah, that it has to be handled immediately, and things cannot be left to deteriorate. I always say poisoning the well. Like that's going to poison the well. That has to stop.
Yeah, these are a big concept, and not everybody is in the spot like to do that necessarily. But like each individual does affect the way that the atmosphere in the room is. I remember one day I tapped out. I don't know if I don't remember who it was. Some maybe purple belt with, I don't even know what it was, and he was like upset by it. And I'm like trying to figure out how to respond to this. He's like, "Dang it!" And somebody kind of mocked him. "Oh, big deal! You got tapped out by a black belt." And it was like a white belt that was teasing him, and it kind of defused the whole situation. He's like, "Yeah, that's true. Like, it's really not that big." And even if I was a white belt, it really shouldn't have mattered. Like, I don't know. I think that.
But at least it gives it some perspective, right?
Yeah.
I have students that get upset, and I'm like, okay, you understand that they outweigh you by X amount of pounds, and they outrank you by 2 belts. So with that said, you did pretty damn good.
Yeah. And if the person is letting them train, if it's like a 50-50 split, or, if they get something, they get to do some of their techniques during the roll, to me, that's always significantly more rewarding than experiencing somebody's dominant game.
It's much more fun. I mean, I tend to, when I get smashed for the entire round, it's like, okay, great. We already knew that you were bigger than me. So that didn't need to be proved the entire, 7 whatever minute round we're doing. Can I see your jiu-jitsu? Because anybody that outweighs me can lay on top of me just fine. Come on. Like I would rather get my ass handed to me through really beautiful, fun, technical jiu-jitsu than somebody just laying on top of me. And I'm like, bravo, you outweigh me by 100 pounds. Great.
And it's easier, I think, to do as a more senior belt, having like a post-rolling conversation with somebody when they didn't like behave in a good way is a good way to do that. Or I'll have them during their roll. If somebody knees me in the head as they're trying to pass my guard, okay, excellent. You need me in the head twice, I'm probably going to say, "Hey, man, stop a second." I'm trying to think of brain trauma here, man. Or elbows are common as well. Like, hey, I know we're going to pass my guard, but if you could not elbow me in the face every time that you attempted, that would be great. And as a lower belt, I never did that because I felt like I was like giving them something.
Right.
Like, yes, you're able to elbow me in the head. Like, I don't know. It just makes it more enjoyable if I'm not getting kneed in the head.
Well, yeah, I like to give them shit and be like, "Oh, are we playing by street rules now?" Because I'll add some eye gouges too if you want to play that way. And actually, circling back to your wife's frustration being underneath, that is one way that I deal with my frustration. Is that I will think about, if this were not jiu-jitsu, could I poke their eyes out of their face? And if the answer is yes, then I'm good.
Okay.
That's what keeps me calm from any position. It's that lack of control and that feeling of being dominated.
Yeah.
So that's what I think about, from mount, from side control, from back control. It doesn't matter. I ask myself, can I poke their eyes out? If the answer is yes, good. Okay, cool. I'm just going to chill under here and get smashed. Great.
Yeah, that's a great point. I never thought of that on the ride home or in the several conversations about that since. Like, I was like, you did good. You tapped him out, and I was like, we all get smashed from time to time. I didn't know, like, but that is like a mental, like, it's a mental out. You're not going to poke his eye out, but you do know if this came down to it, there's a chance that you could seriously injure or damage this guy's life for the rest of the quality of life forever. Like, you're not done. It's just the rules you're playing in, you're kind of stuck.
Correct.
And I think that really would help somebody in that spot, like, say, okay, well, in these rules, I'm kind of done. I'm glad we're not playing in these really mean rules, but that's an option. If this was after class and this guy, it was just the two of you, like, yeah, he would go home blind.
Right. So pass that on to her, and I will say to you, no. I'm just kidding.
No, I mean, I think that would help with frustration. Like, because she honestly felt like there was nothing she could do to get out. And with the tools that were in her brain at the time, that was true. Like, she wasn't thinking about hitting him or, kneeing him in the side of the head or poking him in the eye or, putting your thumb in his eye. Like, none of that came into her mind. Jiu-jitsu, there was no way to get out. Like, that, and that, I think that's what a lot of the frustration was. So, yeah, that's great. Great advice. I will pass that on. Have to grab my goggles on, though. So I do want to get a little bit more in the We Defy. So there's a website you could donate money to them, and so you kind of mentioned that the money basically, if you pay like a month's worth of, if you donate, I don't know how much it would be. Let's just say $100. You're paying for a month or two, depending on the school, possibly of somebody's like tuition, I guess. I don't know what you call it, dues.
Yeah.
And that way that the person's able to get that fresh start in jiu-jitsu and not have to worry about paying for it.
That's correct.
So I'll put a link to We Defy. It's definitely a cause I believe in a lot, and talking about a lot of this today, it's I think part of it is jiu-jitsu is physical, and and that's part of the fun is getting that good workout, but really what a lot of people need is to go to a place where everybody there is on your team. Like you may not get that even at home. Like you could be at home and people aren't even on your team. You at work, people aren't on your team. You get that at jiu-jitsu. Everybody's on your team when you walk into class.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you've experienced this, and you've probably talked about it too. But and I know a lot of people talk about it. But just when you're training, and you're in a live go, or even if you're just doing technique in class, for that 45 minutes or an hour, however long the class is, you can't think of anything else. You are completely engrossed in that one moment, or in that role, or in that technique, and you are with that person, and you don't really have an opportunity or an option to think of all the outside bullshit that's going on. Or if you're fighting with your significant other, or you had a issue at work, or what, you don't have the option to dwell on that for that 45 minutes or an hour or 90 minutes or whatever it is. Because if you do, there's an instant result, which is you get tapped or you get smashed, or so you have to be present, but you're not present in the fact that you're analysis to paralysis. You're present with your physical being and your emotional and mental being, but it's not this outside world stressor that you're present with. So you disconnect, but you're not disconnected. Yeah.
100% agree. And you got to, if you're listening to this and you've done jiu-jitsu, you have to do it to experience that. It'd be like, it's easy to say, like when you're skydiving, when you're actually falling out of the sky, you're not thinking about your back taxes or whatever's on your the rest of your mind keeping you up at night. You're thinking about skydiving. When you're at jiu-jitsu, you're thinking about jiu-jitsu. It's easy to switch the rest of your brain off, because you pretty much have to, because Gina's trying to choke me. So
right, exactly. Yeah. And the second you start that you waver from being present in that moment with your partner, you get an instant result. You get an instant correction. You get put on the bottom. You get swept. You get tapped. And so you have to be there. Yeah. And I think for anyone, whether you've had any type of trauma or not, I think that is so incredibly important to have those moments for yourself.
Yep, jiu-jitsu definitely demands your focus, your attention.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a couple of sponsors I want to hear about. Who's sponsoring you, Gina?
New Defy and Shoyoroll.
All right, and I'll put links to them on the show notes. Any particular favorite Shoyoroll? What's up?
I just said Shoyoroll.
Do you have a favorite Shoyoroll gi?
Oh my gosh. All of them. Oh man. I don't know. I have a few that I wear. I have very specific ones I wear for seminars, because they're patched up for, specific seminars. And then I have ones that I just wear at my gym. So, I mean, they're kind of all my favorite, I have to say. And I know that sounds like a complete kiss-ass answer, but it's true.
That's funny. Gina, it's been a pleasure talking with you. Do you have any final thoughts or words for the audience before I let you go?
I would like to say thank you for having me on again. I really appreciate it. And it's very flattering, and it's an honor that you asked me to be back on.
Absolutely. Welcome back anytime. And hopefully we'll get you back someday for another seminar. I had a blast. I got to say, if you have a chance to attend one of Gina's seminars, do that. She does a great job of instructing. She knows a ton about the techniques, and you do a really good job of communicating the techniques. I think that there's a lot of really good people that are great at jiu-jitsu, but not all of them could teach well. And I think I witnessed you kind of change some of your lesson plan and adapt what you're showing with X-Card based on how the class was having to like either they're getting into the not getting, okay, I better change it a little bit because we need to focus more on this, and I really appreciate your teaching style, and I think you did a great job at a seminar.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Even with my broken foot.
Before I let you go, how is your foot going?
It's on the mend. I think another few weeks and I'll be good to go.
All right. By the time this airs, you should be good then.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks, Gina, for hopping on here with me.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Gina, for stopping by. It was really nice to get to know you in person and to learn from you. And that was a seminar that my wife was actually able to attend as well, and she had a good time learning from you. And it's great to see her kind of adapt the lesson to the class in live time. I mean, there were some things that we were getting well and some things that we weren't getting well as a class, and she kind of changed everything and helped us out. I think that some seminars or some instructors just have it, we're going to do this, this, and this, and that's the way it is. Oftentimes you need to do this, this, and that. You know what I'm saying, Gary? So
I know what you're saying, Byron.
If you get a chance to take a seminar from Gina, I highly recommend her.
And also check out a previous episode. Byron, you know what number that is? We've had Gina on the show before.
I'll put a link to it in the show notes. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Or you can type in Gina in the search bar on our website there, and it'll pop right up.
Yep. So she's been on the show twice. After you listen to, since you've heard this interview, go back and check out her other interview.
If you enjoyed the show and you think a friend would enjoy it as well, tell them about it. It really helps us out. That's one of the main routes that we grow the show is by, hey, I heard this interview by this woman named Gina Franssen. It was really awesome. I learned a lot. Check it out. And then show them either how to listen to it or tell them what to type in the podcast app that they use and help them on their way. And they'll be able to learn from the show as well and help us grow. And we like the growth that we've gotten from the community. And a lot of that is just by word of mouth, by people who train and tell other people that train.
So, guys, that brings us to the article of the week. I guess we're to that point in the show. And it probably will not come as a surprise to either one of you if I tell you that I did not read the article before we started recording. But I just want to say that I just clicked on the link that Byron sent, and up pops a article. It's on Kicksite. Is that the name of the website,
yep.
Byron?
Actually, it's – go ahead.
Kind of crazy. We've been talking about kicking our way on to down the show, and now we got Kicksite. Kicksite.com.
I'll tell you what's crazy. It popped up, and the title is 5 Ways Jiu-Jitsu Will Help Your Child in School. And I seriously got excited as soon as I just read the title.
Cool.
I believe that jiu-jitsu, martial arts in general, but jiu-jitsu is so great for kids. And so, I'm excited. I'm skimming through it now. It talks about improving their grades. I'm going to skip right to the second point, which is encourage safe self-defense. And I tell you what I like about jiu-jitsu is you're not teaching kids how to punch and kick and fight and be aggressive. They are learning physical self-defense. They're gaining those tools, but more than that, they're gaining the confidence that it takes to not be bullied. A lot of being bullied in school and stuff is about confidence. And I think jiu-jitsu is a great place for them to meet other like-minded kids, for them to be good role models. So just briefly skimming through this, I'm going to tell you guys that's my favorite point.
Joe, I'm going back to the one you mentioned just a minute ago, improve grades, help you do better in school. And, he talks about physical activity is going to promote the growth of new neurons in the brains, which can help you improve your child's IQ, performance in the school, which is awesome. And kind of like what I was just talking about earlier about, jiu-jitsu, ways to solve we use jiu-jitsu ways to solve problems that come up in our lives. I just sit there and think, I did not do jiu-jitsu while I was in school, but from jiu-jitsu, I have learned so much more in basically, math and, physics and, different ways of attacking somebody and blocking a limb so he falls over quicker. I've learned to, just assess the situation, find ways out of, what I think is a complex problem. Somebody's got my back, they got their hooks in, they've got the seatbelt on me, and I just can't move. I've got to find a way to unhook something. What way should I turn? What way is open? It's really, improved my mind, which if I do go back to school, I'll probably get better grades and I won't be like Billy Madison anymore.
Yeah, when you go back and finish the 6th grade, you'll be set.
And I don't know if I'll have to worry about self-defense because I will be bigger than a lot of the other kids in self-defense. So I don't in the class. So I don't think anybody will pick on me.
Most of those kids are gonna be stronger than you, Gary, though.
But I will be the only one who can drive besides the teacher.
There you go. And there won't be that's a good one, Gary. You'll be able to escape. I'm going to go to the bottom of the list here. Help create friendships. I think this is a big deal. I think with a lot of times in school, if a kid is being bullied, jiu-jitsu helps with that. But it also, everybody has trouble at one point in time in their school. I remember times when I go to school and I love it. The whole day is fun and it's exciting. Little Byron was happy. I remember times when I go to school and it's like, man, this is just kind of crappy. I'm not happy here. And then you go home and it's like there's no friends there, or maybe me and my brother weren't getting along that day or whatever. Like, it gives these kids a place to go and have friends. And it's not like some kids, like when Gary was little, he was always socially awkward and he had a hard time making friends.
What do you mean? When I was little.
But this is like a supervised friendship almost with an instructor there, and the instructor's not going to let other kids bully other kids. That's ridiculous. But it kind of helps them almost learn the skill of making friends and really get that out of it, and also have a place to go where they have friends. And so if you're having a rough day in school, you go to jiu-jitsu, and that's fun. And then, it kind of gets you through the day a little bit better and gives you something to look forward to. And I think that's a thing that we don't talk a lot about with kids in jiu-jitsu, but I think is an important factor. Is it, and also with adults, like a lot of people like make friends in grade school and have the same friends basically the rest of their life, and we don't get in the habit of making new friends. And I think jiu-jitsu is a great vehicle for making new friends. If you move to a new city, like, do you want to have no friends in your new city? No, go to jiu-jitsu. You'll immediately meet a lot of people, and a lot of them will be cool, and you'll have a common thing to talk about. And I think it's just a great way to meet people who will ultimately be your friends, and it's a good social network that's already there for you. So adults and children alike, it helps you make friends, and who doesn't want more friends?
And the great thing, Byron, is the methodology that you use to make friends in jiu-jitsu. You can use that off the mat too. So like when your wife drags you to a dinner party that you're not really excited about, and you meet somebody that he's like the same age as you, and you guys have some things in common, you just be like, hey, want to wrestle? I mean, give it a try.
You're so nice, Joe. You ask first. I just kind of start going, and see how they deal with it.
Yeah, I just grab the collar and pull them into my guard. Most people don't know what to do with that. Yeah.
There you go. Hey, one of the things I have loved about jiu-jitsu, and this is, I think, is third point about promoting leadership and drive, but focusing more on the leadership part. I love how jiu-jitsu transcends age and class in life or whatever. And I always find it so exciting when you see a 14, 15-year-old kid that's been taking jiu-jitsu for 4 or 5 years, and he's not only got the skill, but he's got the social skills and the humility and the maturity that you'll see a 14 or 15-year-old kid teaching like a 35-year-old guy how to do something. And to me, that's it always makes me excited, and I love to see it. But, man, if you've got a 15-year-old that's got that much confidence already, what kind of leader is he going to be when he's 25, 28 years old in the work world? So I would agree with this guy 100% about promoting good leadership.
Joe, that's crazy you say that. I've got a guy that I was training with. He's a wrestler and did a little bit of jiu-jitsu, but I started training with him when he was 16. He ended up going away to college, and I'd see him every now and then in the summers. He would stop by and roll a couple times. But I just remember his leadership and the drive. He's just a really smart, driven, successful young man. And he graduates from college, gets in the banking industry, moves into Oklahoma, and I hadn't seen him in a few years. And out of the blue, I get a email from him, and the crazy thing is he wanted to move back to Wichita and ended up hiring him. And it's that leadership and drive that I saw, out there on the mat. Just he would be teaching me wrestling, he would be helping me out, but just saw the type of person he was. And I hadn't seen him in years, but I just remember I was like, hey, we got to get this guy work for us. I know the type of person this guy is. And I do believe he learned this through wrestling, jiu-jitsu, martial arts.
Awesome.
That's awesome. The article this week is on kicksite.net, and we kind of stumbled upon Kicksite because I was got in a conversation with the CEO who lives in Overland Park, Kansas. I didn't know that, and we started talking on the phone, and I was like, hey, you mentioned he had some articles. I'm like, we'll feature an article on the podcast and talk about it, and I like this article a lot. And so just real quick, kicksite.net is the website. They're not sponsoring podcasts or anything, but basically they are they help you run your martial arts school. So looking at like the business side of it, which a lot of martial arts arts school owners are people who like the art but really don't really dig the business side of it. So they'll help you run your payments and that side of things, and it looks like they have a lot of great value there for what they do. They have a wide range of pricing based on how many students you have, and it seems like it's very affordable. So he's here in Kansas, and seems like a nice guy. Talked to him for half an hour on the phone, so appreciated that, and it was good to get to know him over the phone. The CEO is Jason Neff. So Jason, nice to chat with you. And if you are a martial art business owner and looking for somebody to help you out with kind of the business side of things, check out kicksite.net. And also, there's a lot of cool articles on there as well. If you want to, if you're in, I just mentioned that Gary and I are in Kansas. If you're in Wichita, Kansas area, give us a shout, and we'd like to train with you, whether you're traveling through or just we haven't met you yet on the mats, and because you're at a different school. Email us bjjbrick@gmail.com or message us on our Facebook fan page. Joe is usually just south of Houston. Is that right?
That's correct. If you're in the Houston area, hit me up. Sometimes in the New Orleans area, you can hit me up if you're in that area. And even if I can't train with you, maybe I can point you to a good gym where you can get some rolls in.
I want to mention our Patreon page. If you like the show and want to help it grow and become a bigger and better thing, we like your support on Patreon. That's the best way you could help us out. Most listeners that support us on Patreon give us $1 per episode, and as a token of our appreciation, we'll mail you out a 5-inch BJJ Brick gi patch and a sticker as well. We do have a private Facebook group that we have kind of some behind the scenes discussions on. If you want to join that, send me a message at the email bjjbrick@gmail.com, and I'll get you added to the private Facebook group that way. I want to give a special shout out to some of our newest supporters, Jason, Jamie, Jeff, and Steven. Thanks, guys, for your support, and you're helping this grow.
Also, check out BJJ Brick on the interwebs. Check out our Facebook page. Share our Facebook page. Let everybody know about us. Check us out on social media, on YouTube, the BJJ Brick app. You definitely want to check that out. Easy way to listen to your show or your favorite podcast each and every week. But our biggest one is definitely Facebook, and we have Joe to thank for that. Joe's a black belt on Facebook. He's always putting cool stuff, cool posts, cool quotes, pictures. Check us out on Facebook, and thank you, Joe, for the great work there.
I'm not even sure if that's a compliment or not, being a black belt on Facebook, black belt on Facebook. But I appreciate the kind words anyway, Gary. And,
how he arranges them. That's funny.
I meant it, Joe. I did mean that as a compliment.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. Oh, you're welcome.
Next week, we have Jason Elliott. So I found a new thing, and I've got several of the listeners that have connected with me on this app called Maroon. It's spelled Marune, and it's an app that's designed to track your jiu-jitsu training and competitions. And man, I'm having a ton of fun on there. Getting to see other people's training, getting to track mine, see how much I train per week or per month. It's all really cool and easy to do. And I've been taking pictures of after training, take a picture and post that on there with my with the log that I'm keeping for my training. Tons of fun. And I was like, I think I want to get a hold of Jason and talk to him about this app and his training. So I already interviewed him, and that'll air next week. Had a lot of fun talking about the app, talking about tracking your training, and then we also talk about jiu-jitsu, and we kind of cover some actual topics that he's like, I'm having trouble with this, and we talked through it, and I've gotten emails from him already, like some of the stuff that we covered is actually helping him out. So I think it's part of the conversation is just interesting because it's two people talking about jiu-jitsu, and we're working through some problems that he's experienced on the mat, and I think that's a thing that we all, the problems he's having is something that we all experience. And the same solutions are around for a lot of us. So his name is Jason Elliott, and that'll be next week. All right, stay sorty, my friends.
And don't forget to shower.
Train hard, train smart, and you will get better. We'll see you on the mats, guys.
Thank you for listening. I hope you find the time today to roll. After all, the best way to get better at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
All right, my friends, this is Byron again, coming at you from the audio editing room. Set the prank up for you. I talked to Gary before the show. We had some time before Joe was ready, and we said, hey, it'd be funny if we never actually ended the show. The show ends the same way every time. I say, stay sweaty, my friends. Gary comes on and reminds us to shower, and then Joe says the thing about train hard, train smart. And that's the end of the show. If we just act like the show's over and don't say that, how will Joe react? And we were hoping he would kind of get onto us about, hey, we didn't end the show. But I don't know if you could call this a success or a failure as a prank. So I'll let you judge. But here's how the show really kind of ended, and then we threw the actual ending in at the end of it. So enjoy. It's a thing that we all, the problems he's having is something that we all experience. And the same solutions are around for a lot of us. So his name is Jason Elliott, and that'll be next week. Man, that was a good episode, guys.
Oh, that was a great episode.
Fabulous.
Perfect. Fun. I think I
don't know. Do you got time enough to go to the Y, Gary?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've done everything on this episode.
So get this, Joe. Gary goes, and he rolls for 2 hours this morning, and now he goes to the Y tonight.
What a beast.
I'm just going to make friends.
So what you're saying is you can go do some wrestling at the Y.
I'm going to pull people into my guard.
From the basketball
They all look
court.
at me weird when I show up in my gi.
Man, so you got a little bit more work to do tonight, huh, Joe?
Yeah, I do. I got to put a report together and get it ready for those guys to sign tomorrow, and then we'll see what tomorrow has in store.
Man, are they man, hopefully you get that done before it's too late.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Okay. Cool. Were you able to train much this week?
Not a lot. I haven't trained much in the last 2 weeks. When I came to work, the day I got to work, somebody had gotten battery acid on their face and rubbed it in their eye, and so that starts up a whole pile of paperwork and investigations and reports. And the next day, somebody fell into the bilge and hurt their knee and their back. Had a cargo incident where picked up 2 bundles of 30-foot pipe, a couple tons per bundle, and was only supposed to pick up one, and one of the bundles slid to the deck, and that's a whole pile of paperwork. Had another dropped object during cargo ops. Had a guy break his tooth on the boat that had to get rushed to the dentist for emergency fix.
Oh,
and then we had that incident where our boat caused a barge to break loose, and it drifted down the river, and it hit 2 other boats.
Man.
So, yeah, I've been knee deep in paperwork and reports and investigations every day since I've been at work.
Well, hopefully
that is crazy.
At least you don't have acid on your face.
No, I didn't rub battery acid into my eye. So
that's good.
Yeah. But I think have we missed anything? I think we're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll let you go, man.
Yeah. I can't think of what we'd missed.
We didn't do a Matt Tale or an audiobook, but so the audiobook, if there's one that like you think of and it's good, let's do it. But otherwise, we don't need to force it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had a footlock question I was going to ask Gary, and I won't take your time up with it tonight, Gary. But
oh no, go right ahead.
But I honestly thought, since I'm at a little different place in my jiu-jitsu journey than you guys, and since people seem to like the episodes where we talk amongst ourselves, I honestly thought maybe it would be worth bringing a question a week. I could bring a question and throw at you guys, and maybe not always have the goofy audiobook, I mean, the goofy's always good, but but that might be something interesting as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Yeah, if you could come up with a question every week, that's the hard part.
Yeah. But I mean, we've done.
Think I'll have a problem.
Yeah, you think about we had the beginning, the intro to the show, and then we go on to, a little bit of talking. We have the article, we have the quote, we have the interview, and then we have the end, and then we have the ending. The stay sweaty. So, that's our normal show right there. We've done everything.
There you go.
We could fit in
shower.
we could fit in one more thing in there, or maybe take out one and put that in when it's appropriate.
But I mean, we never take one out or never forget one.
Not usually.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll bring a question next time, Gary. I don't want to keep you from the why.
Oh no. I'm still trying to figure out how to install this damn Maroon. It's driving me freaking crazy.
Funny. Have you got it yet, Joe?
I have, but I haven't done anything. I think I logged one training session or two.
Find me and add me.
I will.
Okay, cool.
I haven't changed my username yet. I haven't done anything with it.
Cool. All right, stay sweaty, my friends.
And don't forget to shower.
Train hard, train smart, and you will get better. We'll see you on the mats, guys.
Joe.
What?
We tried, man.
It didn't even work.
We were just going to end the show and never do the thing and see if you would remind us to do it.
That's why. That's why I kept asking. I was like, "Yeah, we start off with the intro. We then go to the."
Well, you didn't hear. I gave a prompt or two. I said something about don't forget to shower.
Yeah,
I was trying to be nice.
I know.
I'm thinking, well, I guess if they don't want to do it, we're not going to do it.
We wanted you to yell at us.
Like, hey, guys, you forgot to do the ending.
Yeah, we wanted to be yelled at.
Oh, my God.
Well, I guess that, yeah. I don't know if that worked or didn't work. But
I don't think it worked. But, oh, well. Joe's too good.
Wait a minute. Are we redefining our roles? Am I now going to be the butt of the jokes?
Well,
I think it was because
if you give Gary and I a few minutes before the show starts to chat, probably yes. All right, gentlemen.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Okay.
All right.
Take care, y'all. Bye.